This is how normal people greet each other.
Hey, Brian. Hey, Brendan.
This is how news speakers greet each other.
It's affected every aspect of my life, in every single aspect. Not a day goes by where I don't use Newspeak or think about Newspeak.
Well, it's caused me a lot of pain, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it's a hard thing sometimes, you know, when you try to talk to someone and they tell me I got them.
My name is James Larson. I'm here today to embark on a journey to unearth the social construct of Newspeak.
Newspeak. What is it? Or more importantly, why is it? George Orwell's 1984 has brought into society haunting ideals of totalitarianism, control, and power to the viewers of its content, ever since it was written as satire in 1949. But the term Newspeak has been developing in the community of Northview for several years as of late as a separate but inspired entity. From the Orwellian perspective, Newspeak is defined as a system of communications designed by the totalitarian regime to limit the thoughts of everyday citizens and prevent them from rising against the party. Any alternative to this language is designated as thought crime, and any violator of this law is persecuted, tortured to the point in which they have to believe the party. To the fortune of modern society, thought crime does not exist under an ideal democratic republic, where freedom of speech is held sacrosanct. Thus, Newspeak is defined wholly practical as a separate language from modern society in a simplified form of English language. It's therefore ironically designed to the contrary of Orwell's intentions. It serves as a means of communications to express emotions between two parties, particularly humor. Like any new advance in society, Newspeak has long been debated between those who call themselves pro-old speak and those who call themselves pro-free speak. Newspeak in its purest form can resemble some of the ideas that are held in the novel and the fact that it haunts and harms others. The idea that modern Newspeak, which will be referenced simply as Newspeak from this point, is harmful to others and has thus formed the Old Speak Party so as to normalize others into the vernacular of society. Such will be referenced later on.
It is well known that the Northview High School Jazz Ensemble hosts the most prestigious musicians of the school, but it is also a home to some of the strongest traditions and relationships developed by them. Among these traditions of theme-based parties, goodwill fashion endeavors, and an unfavorable no girls allowed rule, the obsession of the bebop lick exists. The simple six-note progression is one that every established jazzer knows well. When used correctly, it's an effective piece of vocabulary for jazz improvisation, yet the spirit of the jazz ensemble did not allow for such simplicity. Around the 2013-2014 school year, it was used excessively and inappropriately, in such a manner that it was made a humorous inside joke between the members of the ensemble. This behavior set the attitude amongst the group to one excited for an inside comic relief. Phase 1 Newspeak, though yet to be called such, truly began in the summer of 2014 at the Aquinas College Summer Jazz Camp with one particular meme. This image was presented by James Larson to his friends Brendan Smith and Avon Davis during lunch hour one afternoon, and in their premature sense of humor, the phrase, "Me too, thanks," implanted itself into their vernacular. Now, considering the previous mentioned mannerisms of the jazz ensemble, it's not difficult to foresee that the other members of the group began to use the phrase in the same imbecilic and compulsive manner as those who are now considered the pioneers of Newspeak. And this phrase was all that the group needed. It provided the inspiration for the next awaited common ground of understanding humor. The desire to compulsively retort to any statement or question with, "Me too, thanks," sparked a revolution of language. Soon enough, its usage would become common, followed by a mild chuckle, and the members of the tight group began to desire more. The vocabulary naturally evolved. In the marching band, and in Wind Ensemble. In the Mood, among other songs, were constantly played incorrectly with full intent and with the childish and compulsive manner of the language, and the phrase, "got me," became part of the dialect. Those that were there in the beginning did not yet know the magnitude of what they had created, not to mention what it would be called. But the pioneers knew one thing: its evolution was not going to cease.
Oh, didn't see you there. Phase 2 Newspeak was born early in the 2015 to 16 school year, heavily modifying the traditional conventions of Newspeak. The most influential catalysts of the second phase came in the form of my newfound interest in Newspeak and the integration of meme society into our culture. I was taught the basics of Newspeak vernacular before expanding the vocabulary, and we gradually added varying inflections to our speech. In addition to the new phrases, this allowed Evan, James, and Brendan to escalate their actions on Tuesday night jazz at St. Cecilia toward the point of insanity.
Subway! 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 Subway!
In addition to the chaotic inflections, math class fueled our drive for free speech. Math class became the primary outlet, besides jazz trips, for expressing our common language. The rise of Facebook group chats assisted the constant 24/7 development of Newspeak. This chat, in conjunction with the cut-paste application, allowed us to integrate visual memes into Newspeak. A meme is akin to a joke, but instead of it a setup and a punchline, the meme itself is the punchline, and they often satirize millennial culture. The cut-paste app allowed us to easily Photoshop images with our faces. Returning to the jazz band specifically, Mr. Wells required a small jazz combo, and this created the Wombo combo. Brendan, James, Ham, Benny, Nate, and I rehearsed several jazz tunes, but contemporary jazz wasn't creatively liberating, and the Free Jazz Project was born. We performed original compositions with rhythmic irregularities and harmonic dissonance as a sort of musical newspeak. We created numerous albums and song covers, applying the cut-paste app in ways never before seen. Meanwhile, Newspeak developed as a coping mechanism in response to copious amounts of homework and difficult assessments. Got Me and Gigi No Read, teacher became common responses to challenging assignments. Times of joy, sadness, and even anger, Newspeak brought us together, but it began to infiltrate most aspects of our lives. Phase 2 culminated in the jazz band trip to Savannah, Georgia. This Gallus affair was a virtual festival of memes and Newspeak, as the jazz band members were forced to interact with each other for nearly a week. The very construct of the jazz band's high council was questioned, but the most legendary meme to date was created.
So guys, this next tune that we're going to be playing for you tonight is called Edgy Teenage Angst. It's a tune recorded by the Northview Wombo Combo just recently, actually. We feel it's a really good way to express ourselves, and it was a lot of fun to record, so...
Toast to teenage angst?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Teenage Angst. Alright, gentlemen, We'll let the recording do the talking. Brian?
Bad.
Is it Chardonnay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What scale is this? Is this an A minor? All the notes are really good. That's a nice vocal. Yeah. I'm trying to express it. A toast to Wombo combo? Toast to the Wombo. Toast to the Wombo. Gentlemen. Another successful year, man. Yes. Well done.
Hello. During the height of Newspeak in Phase 2, Newspeak began to take off at an alarming rate. The colloquial style took shape and branched off into separate, distinct forms. These forms eventually shaped into the different parties of Newspeak.
The topic of debate is Old Speak versus Free Speak. Commence! Could Newspeak potentially act as a transition to other negative activities later in life? James, you answer first.
Definitely. I mean, psychologically, we have very few ideas on what will happen to Newspeak over time. Would you agree with that, or no?
I would say that we don't know the future of Newspeak, but in its current state, it's simply the connection between the current individuals that's the strongest. I think the only thing that's going to develop isn't going to be the negative effects, rather the negative effects of us losing our friendships with one another, which will be so strong.
But how can you ensure that our friendships will be strong if Newspeak, develops between Free Speak versus Old Speakers, as it is now?
Well, I feel that nonetheless, there's no real anger towards one another. Each other respects that one enjoys Newspeak in their own individual ways and in their own individual manners. Some are more open for free speak, such as Evan and I. Some are more conservative about their Newspeak, such as you and Cole. But nonetheless, I don't hate you. Cole doesn't hate us, and to my knowledge, you don't necessarily hate me. It's simply necessarily hate me. But I feel that the gap will remain that way, and we will respect each other's levels of Newspeak and purely use it as a manner to grow closer together. And it's not going to have any effects which will destroy friendships or whatnot.
But Newspeak, because it's branched out into like politics, how can we, ensure that politics can get quite dirty between each other? If we, for example, we found out like some sort of some ongoing research somewhere in like Iceland or whatever, an ongoing research project, something we find out about Newspeak, and then that gives justification for one of the things for Old Speak or Free Speak. So like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, so that one can potentially be more correct than the other. If for example like something happens, like if someone is harmed by Newspeak or just the other way around, like we find out like Newspeak is like a God-given thing, and it helps everyone.
I feel as if either way, the respect level...
Time's up! Speakers, reference personal stories sufficiently and appropriately.
Brendan, begin.
Well, I feel like between new speakers, definitely it strengthens relationships. As you know, I've become greater friends with James, especially with Cole, especially with Bryant. I hardly knew Bryant beginning of this year. Benjamin as well. Benjamin, I knew him as a kid, never knew him as a friend, but this year he's become one of my favorite members of the jazz band. Definitely, I would say, a close friend of mine, and I'm going to be in contact with him much of this summer.
So it really builds that relationship. Now, between other people and new speakers or even free speakers, I feel it's somewhat up in the air. There are situations where Cole and his girlfriend have had some issues with it, but I've had about 5 different friends convert to Newspeak and convert to Free Speak, and it's just as enjoyable for us as it would be between members of the jazz band. Personally, my girlfriend has begun to use Newspeak, and it's enhanced our relationship for the better. So I feel that relationship depends on the person, but from what I've seen, it's mostly a good tie between people.
Something that isn't necessarily evidence. We can't use it as evidence because of the inherent nature of the condition. But some people, they suffer from, social anxiety or might just be shy, and this happens, outside of Newspeak too. People, certain cliques form around schools, and people, they just pick on other people just because of their shyness. And I'm not saying this necessarily happens at our community because Northview is very tight.
Very good
community. But still, we're Newspeak, because of its nature of being an inside joke, would you not agree that it inherently separates those people from people on the joke?
I necessarily would not say that in the manner that Newspeak is ever flowing and increasing. Like I said, there's people that I know, they were previous, more acquaintances than mine. I started Newspeaking around them, they caught on, and they've become closer friendships of mine. It's once again, you can form that relationship with those people.
Yeah,
it doesn't necessarily exclude anyone. I can understand how that type of clique mentality may affect it, but I feel more so that it's an including community than any other type of community, including Free Speak, because Free Speak is whoever would like to join in with Free Speak can convey their emotion in the types of memes that we have.
But, I mean, time's up!
The more extreme speakers in late stage 2 began to implement sadism into their speaking, along with heightened NSL. The more freedom they took with their speaking, the more offensive their speech became. This raised concerns about the future of Newspeak. The idea that Newspeak will not last forever and should be phased out eventually became a collective agreement between the founders. They decided it would be customary to hold days that would make Newspeaking illegal. Punishment would be met with the perpetrator having to wear 2 watches or 1 sock the next day. Though this was eventually phased out with the ease of this radical speak, the trip to Savannah, Georgia reawakened it to a point. It might have been the long bus rides filled with eager Newspeakers, or maybe even the favorite pastime of playing the famous Grand Theft Auto 5 game, which is filled with the sadism that is distinct in this period. This new form, however, was short-lived. The speakers quickly realized the offensive manner of this new form and sought to curb the sadism. This realization raised questions about Newspeak in general. Why does it exist, and more importantly, should it exist? Phase 3 was officially kicked off when a member of the Grand Council of Newspeak proposed an official document that made extreme forms of Newspeak illegal. While this document was never passed by the founders of Newspeak, it still had solid backing behind it. From this point on, the existence of Newspeak was argued by both free speakers and Newspeakers. A recent survey was completed by all of the Newspeakers in Northview, and the results of this were as expected. It was divided right down the middle, majority laying in the middle of the spectrum, and the rest spread evenly throughout the extremes of Newspeak, or the lack thereof. I think that with these results, it is safe to assume that Newspeak is not going anywhere anytime soon. The real question we should be asking is, where will it go?
Now that we know how Newspeak has evolved, let us analyze how it affects people psychologically. Oh, sorry. I was listening to some math. Among psychologists, it is self-evident that Newspeak sparks debate among the long-term effects that it has on people. Why is Newspeak spreading so quickly? Why is it so addictive? And why do people want to do it so badly? Newspeak itself has short-term positive effects on the people that communicate under its umbrella. This is a known fact. But a plethora of questions lie in base with no answer to fact. Phase 2 Newspeak specifically. Newspeak is arguably chaos. It's nearly impossible for an outsider to understand the modern basis of it without understanding the full history of it, including the modern era of Newspeak. These are barriers to entering. Newspeak, however, may be considered a form of emotional outlet to aid one as a form of coping, whether through actively sharing emotions, such as angst, anger, or sadness, or the exact opposite, through lack of expression by suppressing their moods. This is the appeal of Newspeak in one regard. The appeal that is gained from Newspeak also derives from radicality of individuality. Plausibly, Newspeak implies a contrast between those who live in Newspeak to those without it. And this difference alone is pleasing to some. Knowing that others may be judging you, knowing that others are being disrupted by you, is a call for attention. Humans may crave this attention. Appeal is also gained from the attention of other Newspeakers. Creating new forms of Newspeak can be fuel for the id. Newspeak is acting directly upon such, disregarding any social normalities that may be present, doing what may seem insane, chaotic, destructive, etc. to please oneself. But what of the addictive quality of Newspeak? From the perspective of Professor Baumeister, Newspeak's addictive quality can simply be put into this phrase: the more you have something, the more you want of it. But one must also keep in mind the Prussian economist named Gaussen, who composed the law of diminishing marginal utility, meaning that the more one has of something, the less satisfied one be with it. Therefore, it is natural for people of the language of Newspeak to desire more of it, while at the same time they'll decrease satisfaction, as well as concern for blatant contrast against society's acceptedness. What really sets the benchmark for the radicalness of Newspeak and its culture is the change in development that may rise in the unconscious. Newspeak is ingrained in the mind from years of experience in speaking the language, from hearing others speak it, and the satisfaction gained from it, and the humor that comes from it.
Romeo, oh Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo?
Got me! Got me! I don't like it! I don't want to know what the figure is!
I found some native Newspeakers. Let's try to communicate.
Hi
there. What would you define as free speech?
I don't know what I see this. Some created algorithms. You come to the groove.
He says it's the truest form of Newspeak. It's completely open and ever free-flowing. It ties to your soul.
How often do you Newspeak?
Vroom, 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 vroom.
He says that every Tuesday night he does with the St. Cecilia Jazz Group, but then he does to unwind as well.
Do you enjoy it?
Subway!
Yes.
What does it do for you?
Some created algorithms. Subway, eat fresh. Get fresh. Got me. Got you. Got me. No sucrose.
He says it's a really great way to unwind and bond with another person, but it also ties to his soul and helps him find himself.
Is free speech dangerous?
Come on!
He says in the wrong hands. It's a very dangerous, very, very dangerous.
Although the aforementioned may be true, this does not grant that Newspeak is any disease or cancer, as Newspeak is completely controlled and cannot be classified as a retardation or disability. It is unique of its nature, being addictive only around those who allow it to run through them. Therefore, the argument for free speech is wholly rational, as it does not harm anyone who does not speak the language. But such an instinct might also characterize responses to ordinary people that may slip out. Only in small cases does it affect people negatively. If one does not control Newspeak, if one gains the ability to Newspeak around those who do not Newspeak by themselves alone, then Newspeak may potentially become dangerous to the mind. But with secure, controlled Newspeak, or mature Newspeak, one will live life as any other normal being might.
Let's now look at how Newspeak affects us individually. This is Cole Light.
Hello.
How has Newspeak affected you personally?
Well, it's been a long journey with Newspeak over the past 2 years. It's affected every aspect of my life, and it is starting to destroy the very relationships that I hold within my life. My own girlfriend despises it. She can't stand hearing it, and it's...
Hi, Cole. I got an A on my history test.
Oh, GG. What?
Told you not to say that.
That's how I speak.
Okay.
Got me.
This is Liz Garou. How has Newspeak affected your own personal feelings?
It's affected everything. Because to me, like, it's something that they made up to kind of feed off of each other's approval of sayings, and it's become this like obsession to the point where there's a problem. And it's really sad because high schoolers in high school should like mature over the years, get ready for the next step, go to college, you know, but instead it's kind of like going downhill. Like they're like acting like they need to like start over freshman year. Like that's how bad it is. So, and it's hard to build something with somebody for so long and be serious about it and then have kind of not even be able to have a conversation. It's really sad.
Are there any other final comments you have?
My last comment would probably be please stop. That's about it.
Sounds good. Nice to have you here. Because of Newspeak, homework is quite a challenge for me. I get deep into whatever it is I'm doing, then suddenly I get an urge to make a meme. Productivity for me has been severely hindered because of this meme culture. Instead of focusing on meaningful work, I find myself focused on crafting delicate and often considered the dankest of memes. Dank meaning thoroughly humorous, of course, in Newspeak terminology. While these memes create short-term happiness and a false sense of accomplishment, they are in fact damaging in the long run. This demonstrates the danger of Newspeak when it begins to consume one's life. Here is an example of a crude meme, which on most levels would not be considered dank to most Newspeak meme critics. In addition to the relationship with psychoanalytic theory, Newspeak draws inspiration from other literary concepts.
Good on you, mate. Newspeak's relationship to the established constructs of the English language are striking. The minimalist age after World War II strongly resembles Newspeak. With its outward simplicity, the language seems basic, but under the surface is a level of deep complexity found in subconscious impressions and inflections. This is the same with Newspeak, where the words and inflections must be taken in context and interpreted rather than merely being understood. Ernest Hemingway describes minimalism in his memoir A Movable Feast as writing portions of his work purposefully removing them and allowing their absence to let the reader gain a sense of their presence. In the same sense, Newspeak deliberately removes common syntax and explanation so the listener can subjectively and objectively interpret the speaker. Occasionally, the best way to understand Newspeak and its trajectory is to simply take a walk and think.
We know now the history and the reason behind Newspeak. It affects tens of people each and every day. Newspeak is what it may be, whether this means sharing a dank meme with a friend or vigorously thrashing about one's arms to convey their angst to another friend. Newspeak may mean many things to individuals, but everyone may agree on one thing. Newspeak is good in that the precious laughs and smiles we exchange with our friends are moments we will not forget. It has touched all of our lives in one way or another, and was formed out of a bond, something that is contrary to many movements of this day and age. Newspeak will balance itself as any other movement, with light upturns canceling out the heavy downturns, such is the way of life in all forms.
It's fun, simple, and quick and easy and helpful sometimes.
Other than that, if it were to stay alive, I would like a completely expanded vocabulary, like maybe like an 8-volume dictionary.
Every Tuesday night we kind of get together and we collaborate and we coin some new Newspeak terms. It's really progressive.
No one knows the future of Newspeak, and it seems hopeless to predict it. Newspeak remains empirical in that remark, and, in probability, that remark alone. Newspeak will simply be.
That's Newspeak.